Welcome back to Energetically You. I'm your host, Megan Swan, an integrated wellness business coach. I help powerful entrepreneurs optimize their wellness so they can step into a CEO mindset, have magnetic energy and confidence from within to scale their dream sustainably without burnout. I have 10 years of integrated wellness experience as a certified IIN health coach, plant-based chef, yoga teacher, and CEO. I have been my own boss for the last 10 years. Today, I'm so excited to talk to you about my journey into entrepreneurship. It has not been linear, and I'm sure you can relate. I've spoken on this subject at length before in terms of optimal wellness. Our journey, first of all, that wellness and health is not a destination. It is a journey. It's an ongoing evolution, as is entrepreneurship. It's a living, breathing thing that evolves with you. And I kind of wish that I'd understood it from that standpoint from the get-go. This is more based on my own experience and my reflections over the year, and just getting more and more comfortable with the fact that it's always going to be changing, that there's always a need to mitigate the unknown, essentially expand your ability to feel safe within a space that has a lot of unknowns. But for me, I really think it is so worth it. The absolute freedom, radical freedom of my time, my energy, who I work for, who I work with, and how I work, what I'm focusing on. I'm allowed to really dive into all the things that I'm passionate about on a daily basis. And it's just so freeing. So I'm going to go down the rabbit hole a little bit here today on how my journey has not been linear. What are the ins and outs? And I'll start 12 years ago when I decided to pack up my life and move to a completely new country. Something I had dreamed about for years. I was a huge fan of the Eat, Pray, Love book by Elizabeth Gilbert. And honestly, as you may have heard, I'm writing my own twisted version as we speak, because that was something I just thought was so desirable. You know, like it just seemed so fun, so sexy, so freeing, so really in alignment with how I wanted to live my life. You know, just being totally open to moving to a different country. Now, I'll back up a little bit here. I give a lot of credit to my mom who, you know, as young kids, we traveled a lot, but not really outside of Canada. And it wasn't until I was turning 17 that she got a job in Europe. And, you know, she was also just so excited by this idea of living in Europe. And I didn't really know a lot about Europe other than, you know, the basics of World War I, World War II history. And I just didn't see it as charming at that time as a teenager as I later did living there. But, you know, it was really her push to live her own dream, to live there, that opened my eyes and ultimately made me much more comfortable with this concept. Like, it wasn't easy to go live in Belgium and, you know, not really know so many of the random laws and not know where you need to go to get this registered or to do this. And, you know, I think I understand why for some people it's just way too far out of their comfort zone, that doesn't seem like an adventure. It just seems scary and uncomfortable and unnecessary. But I'm on the other side. I saw it as an adventure, and there was just always something to learn from other people, different cultures, different ways of thinking. And so really from an early age, I was okay with this idea of getting up and moving to another country. Later, I met my first husband, and he was in the process of, I literally met him 2 weeks before he was about to move to the United States for work. And, you know, it was kind of like, we felt like we were in this amazing place, and maybe we were going to do long distance. It was all unclear in the beginning, but quickly he invited me to live with him in the US. And I was like, heck yeah. Like, it just seemed, again, like another adventure. And I don't know, I really believe that sometimes these opportunities come across your plate. And if you're not in a space where you're even going to entertain it, well, then you might miss out on something, an amazing experience at the very least. I now look at it as, the universe is opening doors for you. And it's always a choice, obviously, but I truly believe in following your intuition and really connecting with your intuition. I read an interesting post the other day. I'm not sure who it was by, but who was really talking about the nitty gritty. Oh, I think it was by the Yogi Guru. I always share his stuff on Instagram. Anyway, he was saying that the difference between like an emotional response, like, ooh, it's exciting, I want to go live in another country, versus like an intuition gut response, is that there's not a charge to this knowing. And I think it's a really brilliant observation. So if you're feeling like really excited, to go on a vacation, that makes sense. It's like you're just excited. There's like a flow of emotions. It's going to be fun. It's going to be relaxing. It's going to be freeing, like from all of your other obligations. And it's, there's all this buzz of positive emotions about going on a vacation. But if you're thinking about moving to another country, it's like a different feeling. Like, you need to make that from a gut feeling. Like, does this seem like something I want to do? How do I know if it's a good idea? And you just kind of sit with these things. I mean, now I would sit with them in meditation, but back then I didn't meditate. Just this instinct, like you feel it in a different place in your body, and it doesn't feel like an emotion that ebbs and flows. It's just this constant sense of, yeah, that's what I'm doing. Not what I want to do. That's what I'm doing. Like, you just know. And so back to my Eat, Pray, Love. So my idea at the time, as I'm sure I've shared before, I'll just go briefly into it. My idea was I was going to live a year in Mexico and learn Spanish. And then I was going to live a year in Bali and like more dive into my yoga world, if you will, and knowledge and spirituality. And then, really see where the universe thought I should go. Maybe it would be based on someone I'd met at that point. Maybe it would be based on an work opportunity. I didn't know, but I really wanted to leave that second one open to the university. Interesting Freudian slip maybe there. The patriarchy filtering in that it needs to be university and not life experience educating you. Anyway, so the universe, I wanted to leave the last country I was going to go to up to the universe. And so I went off and I first traveled in Mexico. Like, I didn't immediately land where I am now in Tuxtla Gutierrez. It's a long story, which again, that's what the book is going to be for. The ins and outs and the nitty gritty of that story. And I'm sure I've shared bits and pieces with all of you before, but today I want to focus on the journey to entrepreneurship. So it's something I really wanted to do, just to be in a different country, have that sense of adventure, have that sense of independence, and really just live outside the box. From day one, day one from 12 years ago when I wanted to live in Mexico. It didn't make any sense. It didn't make any sense. It was in the beginning of, back then, it was the H1N1 pandemic. The international news was highly focused on the narco traffic, the drug war. Like, it didn't make sense. Nobody wanted to move to Mexico at that point in history. And something was calling me there. And it wasn't, I couldn't explain it, but I just had this certainty that that's where I needed to start this journey, and certainty that that's what the direction, and at the same time, zero understanding of where it was going to take me. And that's this beautiful crux of entrepreneurship. It's like you have this gut instinct and you go with it, and it doesn't, and also you have no idea what if it's going to be successful or not, where it's going to land you or not. But it's something you just feel so passionate about pursuing. And so prior to becoming a mindset and wellness coach, I found myself never feeling as if I was living up to my fullest potential. I was drained and burnt out on a daily basis as a new mom, and depressed, honestly, thinking my life wasn't what I had signed up for. I personally worked with a health coach at that point in my life. I think my oldest, Jasper, was 4 and Tiago was 2-ish. And I just hadn't found my sense of joy again. I found joy in moments with them, but I didn't find any joy in moments by myself. I always just felt like I was barely keeping up. I wasn't really taking, I was still practicing yoga here and there. I was eating relatively well. I still wasn't barely drinking, although I wasn't sober either. I was taking relatively good care of myself, but I didn't have that joy, that joy of life thing going on. All of my joy came out of my kids, and I knew even then that that was not sustainable, wasn't fair to them. I didn't like the setup of our relationship being, I didn't want to build it that way. I really wanted to have, my own, I wanted to be a mom that they would be so proud of, model this incredible, powerful woman that I knew I secretly dreamed to be. I knew I could be, and I didn't know the path, but I just went one step at a time, doing these little things that at the time, it was like this gut nudge where it's like, yeah, do that. You get offered this opportunity, whether it is to work with someone or it's to sign up for something. And, all of your normal excuses would say that, no, that doesn't make sense. But yet there's this instinctual response from you, might be in the sacral area, it kind of turns you on. Or it might be like a heart palpitation kind of situation where you something is just drawing you on a heart center, or more a literal gut reaction. There's a lot of your intestine is another brain in the body. We really have 3 brains in the body from the standpoint that these are organs that have their own systems, hormonal systems, and they send messages to the brain as much as the brain sends messages to them. So your intestines, your heart, and your brain are all knowledge, wisdom, emotional, centers of the body that you can tune into when you're making these types of decisions. So I signed up with a coach, which led me to even with a couple months of working with her, I A, felt better, and B, knew I want to fucking do this. This is brilliant. This is a beautiful collection or beautiful threading together of all of my interests, the world politics issues on the food system and the problem with the medical model and all that stuff, along with, emotional health, physical health, the yoga piece, the plant-based diet, it all just kept falling into place. And so on the one hand, it doesn't all happen at the same time. On the other hand, there was never a dull moment. I always had the next thing, not far off. And I just kept kind of tuning into that gut response. And after realizing I was no longer motivated by the idea of only teaching yoga or reopening my studio post baby number 2, that was kind of after I came to this city. I first came to Mexico teaching English as just a way to travel. But then when I knew I wanted to stay, I'm like, no, I'm not teaching English for the rest of my life. Let's open a yoga studio. So I opened and closed 2. And, but it just wasn't enough. I knew I needed to make a radical change, and I knew I wanted a career that was intellectually stimulating, challenging, and impactful, positively impactful in the lives of others. And that's the main reason I signed up to become a coach and started a health and wellness magazine. So my magazine was called Alcachofa, which stands for artichoke. And it was never quote unquote successful in financial terms. I made like tiny bits of money, but the whole, like any money I made went to producing it. I went to the ads, the ad revenue went to paying for the tech team that I had, the design team, all the things. And I did at some point do all of that. And, I just, all of it was learning experiences. I got so much. I think maybe the number one thing that I got out of that was the guts. Just go and introduce myself to someone I wanted to know, even though I, was out of my comfort zone in terms of the language. Like I had a decent level of Spanish, but I didn't have like university level Spanish where I knew, particularly in my domain, it's kind of translating where as I was going in terms of the health and wellness industry, knowing all the proper lingo in Spanish. And, I just went into businesses and introduced myself and said, hey, I'm doing this magazine and I'd love to have your store or your company in the magazine and run ads in this magazine because you are completely in alignment with the message that I want to send. Because at the time there were very few stores or businesses here in this little corner of Mexico where I live that were dedicated to organic food, to healthy living, to like a different narrative, right? And so actually one of my best friends now, Violetta, I met her because I went into her all organic beef store and introduced myself, and we couldn't believe she's from Europe, and she had been here for 9 years, and it's not that big of an expat community here in this town. So we couldn't believe we'd both been here for 9 years and we'd never met as of yet, but we became fast friends, and that it taught me the importance of genuinely, authentically networking, building your network, introducing yourself to people, connecting, making those connections for yourself of people that you want to work with, you want to be involved with because they're doing things that are in alignment with your mission as well. And now, after years of trial and error, I help wellness entrepreneurs grow their business while prioritizing their own health and wellness so they can authentically succeed. This is the key, I think, to building a sustainable business so you can truly feel like you are going after your deepest desires as they continue to evolve. And it is that piece that I wish that I had understood 10 years ago, meaning that not making the fact that you're pivoting in life or in business mean anything negative. And I think it's just so ingrained into us in the traditional education system that trying something and not quote unquote succeeding at it by your standards or by traditional standards means it's a failure, and you're supposed to feel really embarrassed about failing. And that is completely contradictory to the growth mindset of entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs seek out failure. They fail forward. They fail fast. That is an intentional strategy of entrepreneurs. It's like if you don't, it's not, there's a difference between like throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is you have this amazing idea. You you write an intentional business plan. You do the market research. You know there is a need, there is a gap in the market for what you want to offer. You have the passion to fill that gap, and you know exactly what the product is, like how you want to show up. How are you going to serve clients differently? How exactly are you filling that gap? And you have a marketing strategy. You know exactly how you're going to get your message out there. What is your timeline? What are your investments? All of this is essential. You need to do the work, obviously, but at the same time, you also just need to have the balls to start before you feel like you're ready or you feel like you have 100% clarity, because you're never going to have 100% clarity. It's about starting. It's about seeing what works, start working with people, or start, launching your product and seeing how much people like it, what they like about it, what they don't. That customer feedback is essential, and like listening. You have to listen to the response, the engagement. You have to actively seek to engage with your customers, with your following, and then also listen and if that requires you to pivot, well, then you make the decision to pivot, right? This is more in a business sense, but it applies to life as well. We get so caught up in, it's like, oh, well, I said I was going to be this as a little girl, or I went to university for XYZ, so I have to stay on this path, or people are going to think that I failed at my first choice or my first path. And my response to that is, let them fucking think that you failed. Like, you can't live your life based on what other people think of you and your path. That is a surefire recipe for depression, for just not feeling satisfied in your life. You need to follow your gut instincts, your body reactions to an idea, a project, a mission, an impact that you could have on the world. And your impact does not need to be huge. I mean, it doesn't need to be, I personally would argue, ideally you wish to have a positive impact on the world. Like, whether that's just doing the inner work so that you're the best human being and you're not, inflicting emotional trauma on other people, like that might be the impact that you're needing to have on the world. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're impacting other people in an active sense, like that there's so many ways to have a positive impact without coaching per se, and then having exuding all the energy and the compassion and the empathy and holding massive space for people. That line of work is not necessarily for everyone, but there are a million ways you can have impact. And well, again, my opinion and my experience is, the more positive you feel your impact is on a daily basis, however big or small, like that's the juice of life. Like that is what makes us tick. That is the human experience. We want to feel like we're a part of the community and that we're valued in the community for what we have to offer and our impact. And again, maybe what you have to offer is just being the best version of yourself. Maybe it's raising incredible kids, conscious parenting. Maybe it's, inventing some life-changing product, life hack. Maybe it's writing your story or sharing your methodology on how you got from A to B and, publishing it and just sharing it with the world. Like there are so many levels in which you can have an impact. And I think it's the whole trial and error piece. And again, failing fast, failing forward. If we have fear around what we perceive as failure, it's so hard to move forward. And complete transparency, I have fear all along the way of my entrepreneurial journey. I've had fear. I'm currently in a position where I'm doing this massive pivot. I'm so fucking excited about it because I feel so aligned. And honestly, this is what I've been doing. This is what I've been doing for over a year. I've already been working with clients in this capacity. I just wasn't talking about it publicly, but I wanted to, but I was fearful, so I didn't. And so now I finally got to myself through the mindset piece. It's like, no, I can so help other entrepreneurs that are where I was 5 years ago or 2 years ago or a year ago. Like the amount of knowledge and experience that I can share with an entrepreneur who's just getting started. They feel like they're not sure where to start. They want to build a business, but they also don't want to lose all their freedom of time and energy and ability to do what they want when they want to do it. And those are the things that I will help my clients understand, is that is the beauty of entrepreneurship, is you can build it exactly how you want on your timeline. You define the success. Like maybe you don't want to be a millionaire. It's certainly on my radar, but maybe that's not a goal for you. Maybe it's, you just want to be able to pay for XYZ cost in the house, or maybe it's for yourself. Maybe you want to have an extra couple grand in the bank every month that you can just feel totally free to go to the spa with your girlfriends or go out for dinner or shopping or whatever it is that makes you jive, thrive, travel more. For me, like that is that is a huge freedom piece. The ability to travel, how I want to travel, when I want to travel, where I want to travel. And travel's expensive, let's face it. I'm much more concerned about having money to do that than I am like dollar number in the bank account. Because I'm focused on living my life now in the moment. And, you know, we can talk retirement strategies at a later podcast. It's not that I don't have one. I do, and I'm very grateful. But on the day-to-day, I'm so into living with the ebb and flow and living in the moment. That's one of the beautiful lessons that I've got living here in Mexico and from my husband, is just being so much more comfortable with everything being flowing and there not being this like massive clarity on where things are going, but having this trust and this knowing that everything to date already has worked out. Like, that's a choice, right? You can look back over your life and paint the picture that everything's always fucking worked out for me. It's always been, I've always just had these amazing opportunities. Like, I've made these instinctual choices, which brought me incredible life lessons and experiences. And they all got me to where I am today, which is about to turn 43 this month in April. I've never had more energy, more clarity. I've never felt more powerful. I've never felt more capable of doing like whatever it is I want. And if I feel like I don't know how to get from A to B at this point, I'm just going to find a coach that can help me do that. And so, yeah, so I think I jumped a big piece. I'm just going to backtrack for a little second and then wrap this up, because I'm trying to make this, again, closer to 20 minutes and not 40. I'm a talker. So the piece from doing the straight up health coaching to the Health and Wellness magazine, I was then a mindset and wellness coach. And what that looked like was more empowering women. You know, I was helping. I did work with a lot of men, but I seem to attract more female clients, which is cool. And because I'm so into rewriting the PWC, the patriarchal world culture narrative that we've been fed. Like, it is just so ingrained in us in so many levels of our lives that we don't even notice. We don't even think to rethink certain things. I'm diving down the rabbit hole right now in my personal journey. This year, I'm focusing on all things sexual healing, sacred sex, like mind-blowing orgasms, energy orgasms, all these things, and completely rewriting the relationship that I have with my pussy, with my vagina, with my sexual centers. And the fact that there's just so many things that we're just, like, I'll give you a small example. You know, in my family, it was not seen like a bad thing when I started menstruating, but it certainly wasn't like a celebration. Like, oh my God, you're a woman now. This is so powerful. Oh my goodness, you know, feel XYZ about this incredible, powerful blood that you're shedding every month. And this is what it means. This is this is like the birthplace of all creation. This is where your amazing ideas come from, da da da. There's like a million ways that I could have been presented. And I'm not just, you know, blaming this on my parents. I had like zero talks with my dad about it, but, you know, with my mom, she was doing the best that she could. I'm talking about like every 17 magazine that I read, how it was taught that sex ed in school. Like, it's this massive cultural integration of that narrative. It's not a, you know, a family to family thing per se. I mean, of course there's like slight nuance within families, but, you know, had I been taught at that point in my life that I am one of, you know, I'm an incredibly powerful human. This is a spiritual thing that's happening to me. This is an initiation into the next level. Like, there's all sorts of ways that it could have been this empowering thing. But no, I felt like it's something I had to hide. I had to like not do X, Y, and Z while I was menstruating. I had to like be really discreet about, you know, whether or not I needed to go change a tampon or something. I was, I certainly didn't feel like cleaner. I wouldn't say I felt like dirty, but there's definitely that undercurrent, and all those things. And so you're like, what the heck? Oh my God, she's gone on this crazy tangent. Wait for it, because there's way more of this shit coming down the road. But right now, back to optimal wellness. So as I was working with these incredible humans and optimizing their wellness through my 6-pillar system, they would come to this conclusion. They're like, from when you are feeling energetically just so much better, it's like this self-fulfilling prophecy, because on the one hand, the action of taking better care of yourself is like a spiritual thing. You are teaching your mind, body, soul that you are worthy of that time. And taking that time is actually making you feel better. It's actually improving your health and wellness, physically, mentally, spiritually, and emotionally. So you feel more in control of your emotions. You have more mental clarity. You physically feel more energetic. You have this deep power within. You have this confidence, this magneticism. And from there, these women are making these really empowered decisions. Like, you know what? This relationship I've been in the last 10 years is fucking toxic. I need to get out of it. Or this work environment I've been in for the last 6 years is fucking toxic. I'm not going to, boundaries. I'm out. And I thought, so naturally, as we continued our work, I was sprinkling in, helping them through this transition. In some cases, helping them transition into what are they going to do next? What's next in their career? Oh, well, I want to do what you're doing. I want to do my zone of genius, coaching in my zone of genius. How do I do it? I'm like, amazing. Let's do this. And let's design your unique signature framework in how you want to work with clients. Like, what makes you unique? What is your secret sauce? And infuse wellness into the whole thing, into your business systems, your business plan, your business structure, your, standard operating procedures, just taking all of those from a wellness perspective so that you have non-negotiables for yourself on how you're taking care of yourself. So you're going to build your business in a relatively maybe slower way, as I did, but sustainable. It's sustainable, intentional from the beginning, strategic. You're working smarter, not harder. And you're walking the talk, because, up to date, I'm always working with entrepreneurs that are interested in doing something in the health, wellness, or spiritual space. And they don't want to sacrifice their own priorities. Like, these people are already clear. They're more often than not, they have been inspired to go into this space because their own transformation, by taking, radically better self-care, radically loving and accepting themselves on a different level. That is how they got to the place that now they're like, I am so inspired to help people on this deeper level. I was already doing it in a traditional setting, let's say in the medical model. But the spiritual piece is so essential. I have to help women understand that healing the pelvic floor, for example, is spiritual. And it needs mindful practice, or it's not going to be long-term. It's not going to be as incredible, the depth of healing that, I experienced, that I was able to give in a more traditional setting. So, yeah. Your wellness journey is not a sprint. It is a marathon. But, you already knew that. I love marathons. I'm getting back to them, I promise. And like your wellness journey, that it's not a thing you need to do. It's not something on your checklist. It becomes a part of who you are, and that's what makes it sustainable. It's the same principles apply to entrepreneurship. So I leave you with that little bit of craziness. I hope you can hear how excited I am about this next pivot in my life and my business. And it's evolving. It is alive, and allowing it to be alive, I feel more alive and aligned. So as always, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you. I always love to hear from you. I love to hear any feedback. If there's anything that I sort of like quickly mentioned and you'd really love me to dive deep more into, please let me know. I'll do an episode on that. And in the meantime, if you want to support me and the podcast, if you can share it on social media, tag me, of course, at Megan Swan Wellness. And, or just, let's face it, what's more powerful these days is just sending the link to a friend or family member that you really think needs to hear this message. That is how organic, authentic, real connections are made. And if you feel so inclined to give me a little review, a 5-star review, or whatever you think, there in iTunes, that is really amazing as well. So I'll leave it there. I am featuring this month, I have a fabulous new resource. It's called Ditch Imposter Syndrome and Rewire Your CEO Mindset. It is a 5-day email challenge. I'll drop the link here in the show notes. It's just, you sign up and the emails will get dripped out over 5 days. You are going to see massive results. You're going to see massive shifts in your mindset. You're going to be going from scarcity, fear, into clarity, empowerment, abundant and growth mindset, which is all the tools, all the things you need to step into your CEO mindset / power, into your power. And anything that you're feeling, like you just need a boost of confidence in, this journaling challenge works for that. So I really appreciate you. I love you. Thank you for being here. Bye for now. Have a beautiful week.